Welcome to It Can Get Better Than This. I'm Heather Hodge.
And I'm Dr. Cindy Byler.
Today we're continuing with episode 3 in our intentional relationships series.
Today we want to talk about motivation in the relationship.
Ooh, very good to have motivation behind your intentionality.
Yes.
I agree.
This can be kind of a tough topic sometimes. But I believe that if you're going to be great in a relationship, that you really have got to do some soul searching, try to say that 3 times fast, about yourself first. Usually we want to concentrate on the other person. I have people come into my office or in my remote office, which I do a lot of FaceTime, Zoom, Messenger video sessions. Don't know what to call them, sessions. A lot of times they're focused on the other person and what the other person is doing wrong. Well, I want to start today with not really what you're doing wrong, but what is your motivation in your relationships?
That can be a tough question, especially if because you're not mad at yourself sometimes. Sometimes you are, but
Most of
sometimes
the time, it's the other person.
you're mad at them.
Right.
They need to
Right.
fix it because you're
Right.
mad at them.
Yeah. And I'm not saying they don't need to fix it,
Right.
but sometimes, you either fix your face, fix
Yeah.
your face. Sometimes you got to fix your face, fix your
Yeah.
motivation first. And often we don't know what our motivation is in relationships because we're not taught, we don't think about that. We're not taught
Right.
to think about that. We're taught to think about conflict resolution and we're taught communication skills, but there's an underlying, not motive, well, I guess it's your underlying motivation and you often have the same one in each of your relationships. So let's kind of delve into that. It's a tough question, but you want to be completely honest with yourself. So number one is the thing to think about is, am I in this relationship to make my life better and serve myself? Or am I in this relationship to make both of our lives better?
Okay.
Is this about me or is this about us?
And I'm sure there's stuff that attracts you to each person that you have a relationship with. You know, if
Yes.
it's at work, it's, oh man, we would work really well together because they have the same thought process that I do. They have the same work ethic that I do. They're good with their boundaries. I want to work with them.
Yeah. Right.
And if it's friendship, it's like she has the same dark sense of humor that I have. I really want to. I want to be.
That
friends
is a
with her.
drawing factor too.
It is, and like in a for a
partner.
romantic relationship, any
Right.
kind of romantic relationship, some people make full lists
Yes.
of everything they want, and like there's a lot of motivation for
Right.
that.
Right.
But it is important to look at yourself too, and like, am I really only here for me?
Right. The second question is part of my motivation to make sure that my needs are met and I have my life just the way that I want it?
Yeah.
Or am I in this relationship to serve my spouse, my children, my friends, my coworkers, and to be a team in a relationship?
Right. You can tell those friends by the ones that call you and tell you what is going on in their lives, and then when it's time for you to talk, they hang up.
Yes. I've often said I've had monologue and dialogue friends.
Yeah. The
The
monologue ones are in it for themselves. You are
Yes.
their couch to sit on and talk to.
Yes.
And then when they're done with you, they leave.
Right. Right.
Are you doing
And
that
sometimes,
to your friends?
right. And sometimes I'm okay being a monologue friend where I'm just listening to them, but it isn't really a true friendship because they don't really care about what I'm going through or what I'm doing. They care about themselves. So on the flip side of that coin, are you the one that's carrying are you the one that's causing the monologue relationship, or are you in a dialogue? Are you purposefully in dialogue relationships? Make sure you're not the person that's carrying the monologue.
Right. Right. Sometimes I have a friend that she and I will talk, and I'll tell her about how bad my day went or how bad something just went, and she'll go, "Do you want to hear what happened with me? Will it make you feel better?" I said, "Yes. Hearing about your day always makes me feel better." And it's not because hers is like worse or anything. It's just like, yes, give me an adult conversation, please. What's
Right.
going on in your life?
Right. And I'm not the only one going through stuff. You are too.
Right.
Yes.
And
yeah.
like, let me be here for you too, please.
Right. So there are 2 communication skills that we each need to learn to perfect. and it will help you succeed in not just your relationships, but in every area of your life. And that is listening and speaking.
So basically, like the two things you have to do in a conversation anyway.
Yes, listening and speaking. And
Okay.
that, of course, that's is relationships, but it isn't just relationships that are peer relationships or your children. It's also with your boss, or if you have clients or customers in any
Yeah.
way.
Any
Listening
kind
and
of
speaking.
leadership position or where you have a leader,
Right.
it's important, especially as a leader, it is important to listen and not just speak. And it's important to know how to speak to them.
Yes, and how to listen. Yeah,
Mhm.
very important. So your job, your influence, your friends, your relationships, and your family all improve as your ability to listen to others and speak to others at higher levels.
Mm.
So your ability to communicate can always get better. Like I don't care how well you communicate and how well you listen. It's always good to make sure that you're honing into what you're saying and hearing from the other person is exactly what you should be saying and what they're trying to say.
Yeah. It's important to listen, to make sure that you are actively listening. And there are actually in middle school when I went to counseling, that was part of my ADHD issues. One of the coping things was I really had to learn how to listen.
Mm-hmm.
And it was looking them in the eye. I have a hard time with that, so I look at like right here.
Right.
But I'm looking at them. I'm not looking down, I'm not looking around or anything. Sorry if that just was crazy on the mic, but um it's looking at them, and instead of sitting there going, "Oh, I could say this next. I'm going to say this next. I'm going to say this next." You're hearing what they're saying. You stop, think about what you're going to say next after they're
Yes.
all the way done, which also
Right.
helps with interrupting, you know?
Yes, it does. And it's very important
Yeah.
because a lot of people are just sitting there thinking about what they're going to say next.
Oh, especially if somebody's made you mad. You're sitting there
Mm-hmm.
going, because you're like, why would you do this? Of course they would do this because they hate me. Or of
Right.
course they would do this because,
Right.
like, I'm not important to them, or, whatever the problem is.
Yeah.
You've already kind of built that up in your head. So it's easy to
Right.
want to interrupt.
Right. So stopping and listening to them all the way through, but also making sure that you're hearing what they're saying
Yeah.
because we can interpret it to be something that it's not and often do.
Yeah.
So you say, "This is what I hear you saying," and then repeat in your own words what they just said.
Yeah.
That
Which
way,
is a tedious process. I don't like
yes.
doing that.
No, but
But you start,
that's where you start. And the more you do it, the less you'll have to do it.
and the more you really learn it goes right back to the neural pathways. You start really learning the intention of somebody's heart when
Right.
you do that with that same person over and over again.
Right.
So if you've been in like a lot of rocky relationships whose motivations were awful towards you and they were very self-serving, and you finally get in a good one but you don't trust them, that's the way that you start breaking that down in your own brain. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I can trust you because every time we've had this argument and we've started figuring it out, it's never been to hurt me. It's just because you're stupid. No, it's not because they're stupid. it's just because they're not thinking about whatever they're doing.
Just
Like, they
'cause
just
you're
need to be aware of what they're doing.
Right. Oh, you are stupid. No, you don't ever say that to
No,
somebody.
that's not
That's not a
nice.
very nice thing to say. And this comes down to motivation. How motivated are you to listen to find out exactly what they have to say rather than just talking yourself?
Yeah.
That's where the motivation comes in is, am I in this just for myself and my own needs, or am I in this for a better us or a better you,
Yeah.
not just for myself? It's really important to learn these concepts, these skills,
Mm-hmm.
so that you can be a safe place for your loved one to communicate with.
Yeah.
I have seen so many parents that wish that their teenager talked to them or 20-year-old talked to them and shared with them what they're going through. But when they're little, even when they're a teenager, they want what they didn't sow.
Yeah.
They didn't cultivate a safe place for them to talk with you. You reacted, you put them down, you didn't listen and understand exactly what they were saying.
Yeah.
You might have interrupted. So when the young person gets to be a teenager and adult and they're not talking to the parent anymore, many times it's because of how you talked to them, listened and spoke to them when they were younger.
Mm. Ooh, that's good.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's important to become a safe person, and it's risky because then it requires you to really check yourself constantly.
Yeah. And unfortunately, especially with kids who are intrinsically more self-centered anyway, not in like, boo kids kind of way, but they are,
Right,
that's
right.
how they start. Um when you're working on yourself as the adult, they don't it's not that they don't care, but they don't care.
Yeah.
And they're not on the same page with you. In
Oh
fact,
no,
some kids
their
might
brain is
even
even
use like, I thought you were doing better. And
right, right,
but just because you're working on it doesn't necessarily mean that they are on the same page and are also trying to work on whatever
right, right,
problem it is,
right.
you know?
But
And
setting a good example really helps a lot.
and it changes the game. If you can
Hmm.
stick to it, especially if you can hold your own through those conversations,
Right.
it starts changing the game.
Yes.
And they start realizing, oh, she's not moving.
Yeah, right. Right. I can't get this person riled up the way I used to because kids are really good at that,
Yeah.
pushing the buttons. Yeah.
And if it gets to a point where it's too much, it's also good to look into a family therapist if you can.
Hmm. Yes.
They come in handy.
So in episode 3 of season 2, we talked about conflict resolution.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we talked about was that if you don't have trust in a relationship, you don't have anything.
Mm-hmm.
In my view, in my experience, trust trumps everything, even really sometimes love.
Mm.
If there isn't trust in the relationship, then there isn't safety in the relationship, and the relationship is only going to go so far.
Yeah.
So it's important to create a safe space in the relationship, and that involves trust.
So, how do we create that safe space that you're talking about in a relationship?
One of the ways is by making sure that you are listening to the person all the way through. We tend, especially if it's a family member that we've had conflict with over and over again, and we live with, well, not always lived with, but because we can do this with our parents and we're adult children, but we've had the same conflict over and over again with, it's very easy to just let our neural pathways take control over that conversation that we talked about before, where it goes around and around and it
Yeah.
follows the same path. You create it by interrupting those neural pathways, by
Oh, we've talked
stopping.
about that too.
Yes,
Yeah.
so that's why we laid that groundwork in season 1, so that you can understand some concepts, so that we can build on them as we go.
That's coping mechanisms, by the way. You're going back to watch.
So what you want to do is interrupt the neural pathways by changing how it's looping.
Okay.
So
Never let them see your next move.
so if your child comes at you with, "You never let me go out," or I'm trying to think of a good example, and I'm not coming up with one very well.
Okay, what if it's like an adult, like
Okay.
a parent?
Okay, if it's an adult, say it's your partner. Let's go with the partner.
Okay.
So you have many times we have the same way that we have conflict,
Yeah.
and it's can become sarcastic, passive aggressive, or more direct, more aggressive, more sharp biting words. Anything like that, we need to stop before we get there. So like when we talked about anger, we have that those couple split seconds where we can stop before we say something and calculate what we're going to say. This goes back to motivation again. If your motivation in the relationship is to win, then it's going to change your ability and desire to stop yourself before you say the things that are just biting and are not helping the relationship.
Yeah.
You create a safe space by making yourself safe, where you don't say mean things or passive aggressive things, which
Or
are
name
still mean.
calling and stuff like
Name
that.
calling, swearing, things like that. Pull those things out first. Make sure that you are ahead of your anger. Like you can feel the anger in your body start rising.
Yeah.
If you pay attention, when that starts, you want to start taking some deep breaths and calm down and make sure that you are thinking, not just feeling, because you want to stay in control of what you're saying to that person. And then make sure you're listening to the other person. Sometimes they're saying the same thing, but they mean different than what they're saying. Like really understanding what the person is asking for. So sometimes they're asking for a part of the yard to get cleaned up.
Okay.
That it's your junk, your cars, whatever. They're not asking you just to clean up that part of the yard. What they want underneath of that is they would like a place that looks beautiful, that they can set up things for the grandchildren to play on or the children to play on, or picnic tables or whatever, some that space to enjoy, whether
Yeah.
it's just viewing or whether it's inviting the family over and having a pool there or something like that.
Right.
So it's not just, I'm tired of your stuff. I want this part of the yard clean so that we can enjoy it.
So it's important to communicate all of that
Yes.
and to tell them not in, if you've already done a bunch of stuff to rile them up, it's not going to work because,
Right.
they've
Right.
already hit that part in their brain where there's no looking back.
Yes.
Everybody's seeing
That's
red, all that kind of stuff.
right. That's why it's important to do everything you can to get the relationship calm.
Yeah. It's like, hey, I've asked you a couple times now. I would really love it if you could get this part of the yard cleaned up because I have something I want to do with it. I want to make it whatever.
Right.
I want to make a picnic area for us to eat outside.
Yeah.
So, what day can you, like, when can we do this? I'll even help you with it. What day can we do this?
Right. Or what is stopping you from getting this done?
Yeah.
Is there something I can do to help you be able to accomplish this?
Right.
Because sometimes the person is not doing it and we don't even know why they're not doing it. But they've
Yeah.
hit a roadblock or roadblocks and they need help even thinking through how to get it done because it's been sitting there so long. It's
Right.
clutter in their own head. So
Or
that's
like,
one example.
or like, why won't you spend time with our kids?
Hmm.
What's the deal here? Like, you're you're at work this many hours, and they're only home for this many hours. We need to be intentional about our time with them, and I want you to spend some one-on-one time with them. How come you won't? What's the holdup here?
Right. And really let them know you're willing to listen, not criticize them or tear them down because their answer is wrong.
Yeah, I've also learned the hard way that this is not the time for jokes. This is not the
No.
time to say something funny or quippy or anything,
Right.
because you have no idea how defensive this other person already feels
Yeah. Well,
for what you're talking to them
right.
about.
They're not in their brain space that they can handle
Even if it's
anything like that.
really, really funny.
So you know this by experience,
Oh,
huh?
I'm horrible at this.
Because of your dark sense of humor that you got
Yeah,
from your
and
mother.
I'm not trying to be mean either. I just think something's funny and I say it and I'm like,
Right. It didn't go over well. Yes.
yeah, this is not the time for jokes.
Right.
Trying to fix stuff, and it could be something as simple as cleaning up a part of the yard. It's not the time.
Right.
You have no idea whatever they're carrying or whatever is like really upsetting them about this or holding them down or whatever. It's not the time for jokes.
No, I can see that. That's kind of funny. So creating a safe space is important. It's going to take time because of the trust issue.
Yeah.
They need to know, the other person needs to know that you mean it when you say that this is a safe space.
Yeah.
And they're not going to violate that safe space by, well, I guess, joking with too much.
Yeah.
Or by calling names and reverting back to the unhealthy communication patterns that have developed.
Yeah.
It takes time. So, and it's going to take practice because sometimes you're going to get in like, oh, shouldn't have said that. Instantly apologize. I'm sorry.
I'm
That
sorry
is-
that was on me. I'm sorry.
Right. Shouldn't have said that. Let me back up again. And let's try to keep going with this.
Yeah.
So, and wrap your relationships in love.
Yeah.
Not especially your children, but your children need to know that you love them, that you believe in them, no matter how difficult or challenging or stupid they can be. Because you got to recognize your kids' brains when they're growing up, their brains are not fully formed yet.
Yeah.
The part that one of the parts of their brain that develops last is their ability to think beyond think about the consequences of their actions.
Oh, great.
One time, one of my kids did something at school, and the school called my husband Tim, And he called me, and I'm like, I know, like, they want to know why he did it. And I know exactly why he did it because his brain's not fully formed yet. He wasn't thinking about the consequences of his actions. He just did this,
Yeah.
like tried to burn the school down accidentally, but brain's not fully formed yet in middle school
That's
or
not
high school.
what you think it would be. He stuck a paper clip in a light socket to
Right.
see what would happen. He wasn't intentionally
Burning down
he
the
wasn't holding a Molotov or anything like that.
right.
He
It was
was
just a paperclip,
yeah.
but it
He
sure
said,
did.
"What does this do?"
It sure did leave a mark.
Yeah. And they said, "Why?" He said, "I don't know."
And exactly what he said. I have no idea because their brains aren't fully formed. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you don't continue to teach them about consequences of their actions.
Just
But
sometimes they have to learn the hard way.
yeah, sometimes they have to learn the hard way, unfortunately. Um, Another thing is to love sacrificially,
Mm-hmm.
which means you have to lay aside your control and sometimes your comfort to be a part of a healthy relationship, a strong, healthy relationship. And that's where your motivation comes in again. Sometimes we have to love sacrificially if it's about that other person and us rather than it's just about me and my comfort level.
Yeah.
And that can be very difficult. And we are often worried about our boundaries and about getting taken advantage of. But you can love sacrificially and still hold your boundaries and be in a healthy relationship. It is not about enabling, it's about putting other people first and not always being able to control everything that everybody does, which
Yeah.
is a false sense of control anyway, especially with our children. We really cannot control what other people do.
Or spouses too. A lot of people think that they control their
Yeah,
spouses. They can tell them what to do and they'll just do it.
right.
It's not how it works.
It's not how it works.
So another thing that I think it's important to bring up is if your opposite person, whether it's your spouse or your friend or your parent or whatever, is not a safe space for you too. Like if they make you uncomfortable talking about stuff,
Hmm.
letting them know like, hey, I have this issue or this thing that's really important to me and I don't feel comfortable talking to you about it because whatever the reason is, because you make fun of me, because you gaslight me, because whatever.
Hmm.
Um, and I need to be able to talk to you about this kind of stuff because you're one of my people and I should be able to talk to you about like my thoughts and feelings on something
Right,
and opening those conversations up for dialogue. I think that's important too.
right. And mirroring how it should be, setting the example for how, and being specific about how you would like the conversation to go
Yeah.
might really help the other person because they might have no concept as to how to make that better.
Right. Right.
So, next week, we're going to talk more about how to create a safe space in relationships. This week, I would really like you to start thinking when you're in your relationships, what is my motivation in this relationship? Is this about just me and my needs, or is this about the other person and creating a healthy, strong relationship with the other person? So, have a great week. Remember, it can get better than this.
Bye.